Skol and welcome to the Buck Stops here. I am Greg Buck Dietzen. How are y'all today? I think we all missed my Skol. I started a little early. We're here to talk a little bit about the NFL playoff situation, and mainly I'm here to talk some WWE wrestling today. We're going to go WWE strictly. They've got the big Clash of Champions coming up tonight. And I really want to talk a little bit about how that's going to play out and what direction that's going to go. So thank you for joining me today. And let's talk a little NFL playoffs. So we're going to do the playoff talk today. And excuse me if I'm still having some technical difficulties. My techie, my son, is not here today, and I'm trying to find where I can talk live with everybody on chat if anybody wants to chat. And there we go. Now I see it. So that's good. Thank you, Evan, for helping me out. Now I'm live and I can take chat on my channel. And let's talk some NFL football. As you can see, I'm a big-time Viking fan. And everybody knows that, I have a hard time watching the games and being neutral. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Viking game last week. We could have wrapped up the NFC North. Excuse me one moment. We could have wrapped up the NFC North and had the division in the playoffs right in our sights. We still need a Green Bay loss or a Detroit loss, which they won last night 20-10. And we definitely need to win. So one win and we're in. If we beat the Bengals this week, we're in. Last week was an ugly game. Our line played rough. We didn't have Pat Elflein. He was out with an injury. Remmers was still out, didn't play. But our defense seemed to have a rough game too, as Carolina put up a bunch of points on us. And that's not typical of our defense. So we're going to have to look at that and say, throw that one away. We got a bad game out of the way. There are some calls I didn't agree with. Some friends of acquaintances of mine on the Vikes Fan Around the World site did bring it to my attention that the new catch rules, Thielen's touchdown wasn't a touchdown. And as long as the ball breaks the plane, it's not a fumble, which I knew. It was just stressful losing that way. So long story short, I was a little upset with the game last week, and you know what? We just didn't play well. We need to play good this week, wrap up the division with the Eagles losing their starting quarterback and Carson Wentz. It looks possibly like they may have a little struggles with Nick Foles. He's a seasoned backup quarterback. He started a little bit. He's only got to win 3 games to keep the Eagles at home field advantage. But wouldn't it be nice to have the Minnesota Vikings get home field advantage throughout the playoffs? Because all they have to do is win, and they get a home field Super Bowl. Unprecedented, unheard of, never happened before. So, well, let's just say we got to win out and hope the Eagles lose at least one game to an NFC opponent. Packers. They play, I'm not sure who I think they play Carolina today, so that's going to be a tough game. But Aaron Rodgers is back with a vengeance. Looking forward to next week against us. We win, and we're in. The Eagles have already wrapped up their division. Atlanta, Carolina, and New Orleans are all battling for that NFC South. But when you look at that, you also have to realize that with the NFC South, they are all 3 of them are probably going to make the playoffs unless Green Bay does something spectacular here, or Detroit. I don't see really anybody else sneaking in there. And the Rams are pretty much Rams and Seahawks are fighting for that division. But I really think you're going to see 3 teams from the South, which is funny because up until maybe last year, you had one team that would barely be at 500 or just over 500 make the playoffs. And now you have 3 strong teams in that division, and Tampa Bay is just disappointing. Tampa Bay is not playing up to their expectations. I thought they were going to be a better team this year. That could be one of the toughest divisions in football, is that NFC South. So as we're talking about this football divisions, we want to take a quick look at the standings here. And let's take a look and see how everybody's ranking right now in the playoff situation. Really, here's the big thing is you've got New England on top of their division, and I believe 1 win and they take the division. So New England could wrap it up this week. Pittsburgh's already wrapped up a playoff spot. They've already won their division. And if they beat New England, they have home field advantage in the AFC, which could be big to take New England out. The Jacksonville Jaguars winning their division at 9-4 right now, with Tennessee right on their tails at 8-5. And I got to say, being here in the Memphis area, I'm a big Tennessee fan, so I'd like to see Tennessee make the playoffs. Kansas City's winning their division at 8-6. So if you look at the AFC playoff picture right now, it looks like you've got New England pretty much in. Pittsburgh is definitely in. KC's leading their division, and Jacksonville's leading their division. Your wild card teams, as it looks, would be Tennessee, and depending on what Baltimore and Buffalo do, they're the other two teams that are running for that other wild card spot at the moment. So it looks like a pretty set situation 3 weeks in. Now Minnesota is 10-3, Detroit's 8-6, and Green Bay's 7-6. So one win puts us at 11, and that means that nobody can catch Minnesota for that division. We're also only a game ahead of New Orleans and Carolina for home field advantage. If we tie with Carolina and they're a division champion, we will not get home field. We will have to play the first week of the playoffs because they beat us head-to-head. And you have Atlanta sitting there at 8-5. The Rams and the Seahawks. Rams 9-4, Seahawks 8-5. I think that's the Rams division to lose this year. They're looking really good with Jared Goff. Todd Gurley's come on strong all year long, catching the ball out of the backfield, yards from scrimmage running. He is an amazing running back, and I said it before. Coming out of Georgia with that injury, nobody wanted to talk about Todd Gurley, and the Rams took a chance, and I think it's paying off. If the playoffs were to start today, I see Minnesota getting a home game, looks like against probably, well, it wouldn't matter. They'd be a 1 week bye. So you would have New Orleans, Carolina, the Rams, and Seahawks at this moment, probably in the playoffs. I'm looking forward to today's game. We've got some healthy linemen back. Remmers may play. Rudolph is doubtful for today. He was upgraded from out to doubtful, so maybe he'll play, but we should be able to beat the Bengals in Minnesota and take the division, and that's the first step. So let's just do this one game at a time, Minnesota. Skol, Viking fans, come on now. We can do this, all right? Now, I got somebody that's been waiting to hear some WWE talk. So, Sparky, here it comes. We're going to talk some WWE. For those of you who aren't big into the WWE, you know, they're real athletes. They're actors. They go out. They perform for you. The winners are generally staged. They know who's going to win the match going in, but we never do. And the fun part about wrestling is trying to figure out what's going to happen next. So that's what I'm going to do here today is I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think is going to happen, what I see going on, what I think should happen, and maybe someday the WWE creative will hire me and give me a shot to help them make their product better. What are my credentials? I've watched it since I was a kid. And I'm sure there's a million people that feel that way. So coming up tonight, Clash of Champions live on the WWE Network. If you don't have the WWE Network, you can sign up today for free. Go to WWE.com and sign up for the WWE Network. You'll get your first month free. That would include Clash of Champions tonight. And there are hundreds of hours of all sorts of archived matches, pay-per-view, stories on wrestlers, Hall of Fame information, and they have their own shows too. One of my favorites is Ride Along. This shows the wrestlers going from one venue to another. Some of them get together and ride in a car, and it's really an interesting show. They have WWE Camp, which is an animated show with the voices from the real WWE wrestlers. They have all sorts of very good shows on the network, but I sign up. I watch it just to see the pay-per-views. You get everything with that network, and I think it's a huge bargain because after the first month, it's only $9.99 a month. So check it out. Clash of Champions tonight. First off, let's talk about a name change. Now, if you read my blog, I already went into the name change. There are no champions battling each other. The champions are clashing against challengers. So the Clash of Champions just doesn't fit. Maybe it should be, I don't know. There's all sorts of different ways to rename this pay-per-view. I really think that it needs to be renamed. But that's just on me. You know, I gave some suggestions in my blog. Something, that I really think the WWE needs to look at. Now, Great Balls of Fire, I think that was a horrible name to go with when they did that. And the reason I think that, it didn't flow with anything, there was just nothing that it had nothing to do with anything when you did Great Balls of Fire. So the name change really is really important to look at and say, hey, maybe, just maybe we need to change the name up a little bit. It's looking like WrestleMania season. WrestleMania is not far away. So really, I believe that The Last Stand would be a beautiful name going into the Royal Rumble, which is going to be next, which is a dual pay-per-view. This is The Last Stand, the last pay-per-view of the calendar year. And if WWE wants to borrow that, very small fee, I could probably release it. No, there's no patent on that. I just think it's a great idea. So moving on, I want to talk a little bit that I put in my blog about the heel face turns before I get into the matches. I do a lot of reading. I follow Bleacher Report, WWE.com. Sometimes there's some rumors out there on some other sites. But a lot of this information I took from Bleacher Report, and I either want to agree or disagree or tell you what I saw myself. First off, a heel, for people who don't watch wrestling, that's a bad guy. That's the guy that nobody likes. But they have their share of fans. And if you're a good heel, you'll have plenty of fans. And then you've got the face, the baby face of the organization, the guy that everybody loves, the guy that should come out and be the big winner. And it doesn't always happen that way, but it's a fan favorite. My boys like to call them the cheers and the boos. Is he a boo or is he a cheer? So we could call him that. But all in all, it's good versus bad. It's a soap opera for men and women alike, and it's just fun to watch and fun to talk about. And hey, let's face it, there's nothing better than watching a bunch of guys talk smack and then beat each other up. And you don't have to be in the middle of it. Just a quick note. Thanks, Chris. I'm sporting my new Orlando Sharks logo on my new shirt. This is my new manager shirt. So we're looking here ready to rock and roll and have a great season this year. Just wanted to give a little heads up. Chris made this for me, and my logo. It's part of the Buckster. Thank you very much. So I read that Tamina might be doing a face turn. Tamina Snuka is Jimmy Snuka's daughter. She's a heel. She's managed by Lana. And I just don't see it. Bleacher Report's saying with Tamina it would be a good switch to feud with Sarah Logan, who's part of the Riot Squad, along with Ruby Riott. And, of course, I'm going to draw a blank now that I'm saying this. We got Sarah Logan, Ruby Riott, and forgive me, guys, I drew a blank, and I don't know why, but the Riot Squad has come in and started to cause some stress on SmackDown. And, it's really cool because it's a different switch of, what's going on. And I'm sorry, it's really going to bother me, but we have Liv Morgan. Sorry. So Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, and Sarah Logan. And look, this is a good play, but they're still partially in NXT. Two of the Riott and Logan or Morgan are both still in NXT. So I'm not sure where they're going with this, but Sarah's the bigger, stronger of the girls. So I think they're trying to think Tamina versus her would be good. But they would have to also turn Lana to a face. And usually you don't get a double face turn like that with two people who play a pretty good heel. Tamina's big and bad and tough, and Sarah Logan is trying to come across the same way. But I think a better move would be, because there's a lumberjack match tonight, maybe have Sarah Logan somehow personally her to cause Charlotte to lose her title. And that would be a better feud. It would help Logan in the ring a little more. I think she's a little ring rusty, like I am on my show right now, a little rusty here, so you got to forgive me. I'm trying to get my feet back up under me and make this thing, fun for everybody watching. I have fun doing it, but my goal is to make sure you're having fun. So I really would like you, comment if you're watching me live right now, and let me know what you think. Give me something to talk about besides this, give me something to shoot from the hip with, because I'm kind of got notes here. So I'm just on a basic little run, just following suit on what my notes say. If you throw me a curveball, I'm going to try and hit it. But I don't think Tamina turning face is the right thing to do. She's been a heel since she's been in. She plays a good heel. She's a mid-carder. You're not ever going to move her up to being a title contender. There's not enough there, and she's not good enough in the ring. So I think my idea of having Sarah Logan do something to cause Charlotte to lose it, and then her and Charlotte can battle. And I'm telling you, that would help Sarah Logan so much in the ring. Charlotte is one of the best in the ring, heel or face. She does a phenomenal job. Next up, we're talking Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable. Now, Chad Gable was part of American Alpha, and they broke them up to start some crazy storyline on Raw that we're not talking about Raw tonight, but Jason Jordan as Kurt Angle's illegitimate son. And I mean, they kind of look alike. It kind of works. They're not related at all in any way, shape, or form. So it's just a storyline, and I don't know how far they're going to take it or where it's going to end. But Chad Gable, people loved American Alpha. Shelton Benjamin, people loved him, but Benjamin can play a good heel. The problem with these guys right now is it looks like they've already turned to being heels. And that being said, there's not much more you can do except for maybe they win the titles by a cheap shot, or they take a cheap shot at the Usos after just to make sure that heel turn's complete, and maybe going into WrestleMania, they get the spotlight against the Usos for the title. Speaking of the Usos, they've already flipped them since Hell in a Cell when they congratulated the New Day on such a great match. And they're playing the face part with the new characters great, because they're not super faces where they love everybody and they're going to, hey, these guys are good, we're not going to wrestle them. No, they are faces, but they will take on anybody, any point, anytime, and they'll still be rough, but they're not going to cheat. So the Usos being a face is probably a good move. People like them better. The Usos seem to enjoy it better, and that makes for a better product when your employee can go in and enjoy what they're doing. So Shelton and Gable, I think that's going to be a good flip, and I think it's going to be a nice little rivalry to go against the Usos running down the road here for a little while into WrestleMania. One I read that really confused me, Jinder Mahal. They're thinking of doing a facelift with him. Now, I don't know how that's going to work, especially he's going against AJ Styles for the title tonight. But they're trying to delete the whole racism part of him, like, the reverse racism. He hates America and makes it look like we hate him. And the only reason people didn't like him is because of the comments he was making. But Jinder Mahal came out of nowhere. They put him on the map by making him a champion, by making him beat Randy Orton. And then he kept the belt by having the Singh brothers help him. The Great Khali came out when they had the Punjabi prison match. They really made Jinder an awesome heel. But I see what their dilemma is. They've got a whole country of India following this guy, getting them back into the whole WWE, which it's a marketing tool, and I get it on the non-wrestling side. Right? We're talking business right now. They wanted to be prideful for the India fans, and it makes sense, but he's a good heel. And usually when you take a good heel who's a title contender and you turn him into a face, he becomes nothing. It happens all the time. Randy Orton, he's not a mid-carder. He's a high mid-carder when he's a face. He gets a title run here real quick and it goes away. But Randy Orton, who we're going to talk about in a minute, is a great heel, and his aura about him as a heel is just so much better, man. It's fun watching Randy come in and just mess somebody up because he can and walk away. He can't do that as a face because he's got to kind of follow the rules and be the good guy and follow. And I don't see Jinder Mahal doing that. They're going to have to find a different twist to make Jinder maybe appreciate America a little more and keep him where he's at if they want to keep him in contention, because he will disappear off the face of the only thing I could see keeping him there is if they flip him to a face. Him and Rusev could actually have a head-to-head rivalry, because when they left Raw, they weren't getting along. They were a tag team on Raw, and they butted heads, and they both disappeared off Raw, and they both ended up on SmackDown. And I would have thought Rusev would have got the title run, and they gave it to Jinder. Now, Jinder's gotten better in the ring. He's gotten better on the mic, but I still see him being pulled from a heel, having to recreate himself, and falling down to mid-carder and probably staying there for quite a while. So if you want to keep Jinder Mahal relevant, don't flip this guy. Keep him as a heel. Another guy to make him relevant again, flip Randy Orton. You got the perfect opportunity. You've got two guest referees in the general manager and the commissioner of SmackDown, Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon, respectively. They're kind of butting heads right now, man. They're just like, oh, why do you want to get these guys fired, talking about Owens and Zayn? And you keep putting them in against Randy Orton and Shinsuke. And somewhere it's going to click in Orton's head that I'm not your lackey. I'm not here to do your dirty work. And if that's what you think, you got something else coming. So one of two things is going to happen, I think, because you're not going to fire Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens from the WWE. They're too good. They're both really good, although we'll talk about Sami Zayn another day. He should not be a heel. He's a horrible heel. He's awful. Just anyways. And you can't flip Kevin Owens to a face because he is the best heel in the business at the moment. Maybe Samoa Joe's right up there with them. But we're not talking Raw today. We're going to stick on the SmackDown brand for tonight, just in honor of the Clash of Champions. Or, I don't know, let's just call it the Last Stand, because that's what I want to call it. So the Last Stand tonight, okay? But if you flip Orton, there's two ways to do this. One, you can have the match going on, and Shinsuke miss a move and hit Orton, or Shane trying to do quick counts, and something's going to happen, and it's going to make Orton mad. And Orton's going to maybe RKO a referee. Let's say Daniel Bryan. Now, I don't know if Daniel Bryan is going to get in any action or not because of the whole concussion problem, and that's why they made him a general manager. But he could RKO Shane McMahon. And McMahon could get so mad he could, DQ'd, you're done. And then he'll realize, oh, my God, I just let Owens and Zayn win. And now Orton's a heel because he just got tired of being a lackey, and he's like, I can do this on my own. And, of course, that leaves Shinsuke and Shane and Daniel Bryan, who's going to scurry out of the ring because he doesn't want confrontation. And maybe Owens and Zayn and Orton beat down McMahon and Shinsuke, setting up a Shinsuke-Orton WrestleMania. And maybe McMahon 2-on-1 in WrestleMania. I don't know, against Zayn and but you've got so many angles you could go from here. The other option is they're just going to butt heads. Orton's going to walk away being like, look, this is stupid. Shinsuke's going to get pinned. Daniel Bryan's going to do a count. And Shane McMahon's going to get mad at Daniel Bryan. Out of what I hear, Bryan's contract's up at the end of the month, so they could be moving him on. Maybe get suspended, and then they re-sign him, and he goes to Raw. I don't see that happening. Daniel Bryan, the fans just are ecstatic about him. He's like one of the biggest draws. You take him off of SmackDown, I think you're hurting the brand even more than it's hurting now. So you can't really – you have to re-sign Bryan. You have to do something. Maybe Shane disappears like Stephanie did and goes off and only shows up once in a while. And Shane's like, look, if you want to run my show, that's what I hired you to do. Fine. I'm out of here. I'll check in with you once in a while, and you just better make sure the show beats Raw. There's so many different scenarios you could go from making this collapse, and I see that happening tonight. So I don't think you turn Shane to a heel. I think you just turn him into more of a businessman like his dad and say, fine, you run it. I'm stepping back. I understand. I might not agree, but if the show doesn't beat Raw, then we'll have to talk about your contract when it comes up due, or your employment, or however they want to word it. Matches. It's a pretty good lineup. You've got Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley, the breakup of the hype bros. I mean, there's not a lot of hype behind this, pun intended. But here's the thing. This has been coming for a while. And, Mojo was starting to climb in the solos, and then they got back to the tag team, and it's time for Mojo to grow. He's going to win this match. It's going to put him back on track. He's going to be a heel, which is going to make it easier for him to get some wins. And maybe he'll get into title talk of United States Championship. Now, Baron Corbin has it for now, but it could easily get taken by Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler, or anyone else coming along the way. Shinsuke's really should be in line for a title. But Mojo's got to prove that he's got it in the ring, one-on-one still. And I think Zack Ryder's his first good stepping stone. It's going to be a climb for Mojo to get out of the mid-card, low-card, but I think he can do it. Breezango and the Bludgeon Brothers. Why? Now, the only way that the Bludgeon Brothers aren't going to just win this match quick and instantaneous, even though they've wrestled nobody yet, they're building them up to be these big, tough, unbeatable like the Wyatt family was. Excuse me. Skull, baby. The only reason they would not win is the Ascension gets involved because apparently they're best friends with Breezango, and I never even saw the Ascension turn coming. Like, it just happened. Bam! Ascension was now like, I don't know. You're the Ascension. You need to be heels. You need to be bad like you were in NXT, and they brought them up, and they've just been a joke. So something's got to happen here. Maybe this is a building to Ascension versus the Bludgeon Brothers, which could put Ascension back on the map. That might be the stepping stone there. Then you have a triple threat match for the United States Championship. Defending champion Baron Corbin, who I really like. I like Baron Corbin. I like his character. He needs to get a little more of a forte in the ring. He's got his moves, and that's about it. But so does John Cena. So, I don't know. Against Bobby Roode, who is strong, great wrestler, good on the mic. And, of course, Dolph Ziggler, who is a better heel than a face. And you've got two heels and a baby face in here. I see Corbin retaining. Maybe Ziggler lands the zigzag. Corbin end of day Ziggler and pins Roode. The Roode and Corbin thing is going to go on. Ziggler's here to make these two relevant. Ziggler's title days might be over, but he's still great in the ring. He's great on the mic. He's a good heel because he can do cheap shots to get a win and then take a clean loss. I see this going to a Corbin and Bobby Roode thing. We already talked about RKO, Shinsuke, Owens, and Sami Zayn. Owens and Zayn will win. They won't get fired. Since Daniel Bryan's calling it down the middle, and McMahon's trying to make them lose, the two are going to get in a scuffle. And I think the scuffle is going to distract where Owens and Zayn are going to do a cheap move, maybe on Orton, maybe on Shinsuke. Something in there is going to make it, or maybe Shinsuke is going to go for his finishing move with his kick and hit Orton, and it's going to make Orton mad. And then Shinsuke is going to, something's going to happen. A double team's going to happen. The refs are going to miss it, and Zayn and Owens win. They don't need to leave SmackDown. They need to change their what they're doing with them a little bit, but they are very relevant on SmackDown, and they need to stay there. Possible suspension of Bryan, maybe, that's, again, it all depends on how it plays out. There's too many scenarios that can happen with this match. It's hard to decide which way to go with it. So my call is going to be, in the ring, you're going to have Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon bantering each other, arguing about something. Why are you trying to undermine my calls? This is cut and dry. Bryan's like, I'm calling it fair. And Zayn and Owens are going to take advantage of them not paying attention. They're going to get the pinfall and the win. Daniel Bryan's going to count the win. Him and Shane are going to have a falling out. Randy Orton's going to get mad somewhere along the way. Maybe he gets pinned and he finally gets upset and goes to RKO Bryan or Shane or Shinsuke and walks away. And that's going to be the end of that. And you're going to wonder what's going on here. And Tuesday you'll find out more. So that's my call. Randy Orton heel turn. Shane and Daniel fighting, having issues, something going on with them. And, of course, you will not see Owens and Zayn fired. Okay? That's just not going to happen. Then you have a fatal four-way tag team. There will be one member of each team in the ring at all times. So there'll be four guys in the ring. I've never seen this before. This is something new, so I'm kind of excited to see it. You got the Usos, two members of the New Day, Shelton and Gable, and Rusev and Aiden English. Now, that I don't understand. Now, they've been wrestling really good together. They beat all three teams, so that's why they're in this match. But are you going to give the belts to Rusev and Aiden English? I think that's just in there to cause some havoc. Two outcomes. The New Day aren't going to win the belts. The New Day can survive with or without the belts. They're energetic. They're exciting. They can go in and beat the Usos 4 out of 5 times and just lose the championship match, and people are still going to be like, wow, they're great. You know, these two teams are awesome. You're going to see Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin win on something cheap and rotten, or the Usos are going to win, and then Benjamin and Shelton are going to attack the Usos and the New Day, and Rusev and Aiden English will obviously help them, which might be why they're there, and it'll be a complete heel turn for those two, and you'll see a huge WrestleMania matchup, Usos, Benjamin Gable. That's my call on that match. Women's Lumberjack match, Charlotte and Natalya. And I'm going to stick with what I said. I think the way they should do this is Charlotte's going to lose to Natalya because you're going to see the Riot Squad really, Sarah Logan especially, because Sarah Logan, I think she's the one that thinks she can be the big shot, big time. She's bigger, she's stronger, she's athletic. Logan's going to do something to Charlotte, cheap shot, take her out. I mean, everything's outside the ring. Everything is clean. You know, it doesn't matter what you do. So I really see Charlotte losing to Natalya, having it Logan's fault. Natalya's going to move on to have a battle with somebody else. Could be anybody, really. At the moment, I just don't know who they would put. Natalya and Charlotte seem to be the two alpha females. But, you know, I mean, Natalya's not a complete face, and you could see Ruby Riott try and get in there and battle her for that title. You just never know. And finally, the last match, big match, supposedly, AJ and Jinder. Now, AJ is the face of SmackDown. It is the house that AJ Styles built. AJ's going to win. And it's one of two things are going to happen. Jinder's going to disappear for a little while, and he's going to come back as a face, because I think really that's what they're trying to do. Or Jinder's going to beat AJ down, and he's going to beat him down with the Singh brothers, and this rivalry is going to go on. I don't think that's the right thing to do. If Orton turns heel, Jinder goes away, comes back as a face at some point. Orton and AJ could be the battle for the WWE title. Bobby Roode maybe doesn't win, and now he slides over, and Jinder does win, and Bobby Roode goes after Jinder. Dolph Ziggler maybe goes after AJ Styles. There's some wrestlers that could go and have good in-ring competition with AJ Styles, but I don't see him losing his belt for a while. I don't know who they're going to have at WrestleMania unless John Cena, AJ Styles, Cena trying to be a 17-time world champion before he finally fades off into the sunset. You heard it first right here on The Buck Stops Here. Styles loses at WrestleMania to John Cena. I'm not a huge Cena fan. I think they've earned him out, but I see it happening. Cena's done nothing but great things for the company. As far as a person, he's a great person. As far as the whole character, it's burned out. But they're going to do it. It's coming. WrestleMania. AJ Styles, John Cena. Cena wins, 17-time world champion. What else do I need to say? Royal Rumble's coming up next. That's going to tell us a lot in January. Until then, let's talk slight NXT. I'm kind of bored with the division. I've been watching it a lot lately. You have Almas as the champion. McIntyre's hurt. I think when McIntyre comes back, he's coming up to the main roster, and you may see him on SmackDown. SmackDown needs to get a big name in there, and McIntyre was a good draw in NXT. I don't see that draw anywhere, though. There's new blood trying to make names for themselves. You know, before you had Samoa Joe, who's already made a name for himself in many different aspects, most recently TNA. You had Finn Balor, who was overseas, and he came in along with the Bullet Club and made a name for himself in NXT. Bobby Roode, Mickie James, Asuka, Shinsuke Nakamura. All these people have already been big-name wrestlers, and they came to NXT. Now you've got people you've got Aleister Black, who looks pretty good in the ring, and he's undefeated right now, which could be a big key for him going against Almas for his title. You have Adam Cole, who the fans seem to love. Cassius Ohno. You have Johnny Gargano. And possibly Lars Sullivan. So you've got some guys trying to make names for themselves who look pretty impressive in the ring right now. The tag team division's pretty good in NXT. Tags have been an issue. There's plenty of tag teams to go around, so we're not really going to beat up on the tag teams. I think the Authors of Pain are either going to win the titles back at the next NXT or they're coming up to the main roster. And you're probably going to see them on Raw because you need some more tag team competition on Raw that's really hardcore. And the Authors of Pain look like they can be that. So, but the women's division's weak. Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan are on SmackDown. And you have Sonya Deville and up on Raw. It's just a matter of the women have maybe 6 women that are full-time, and it's not as impressive as it was. They need to bring some women up. Keep an eye out. A lady named Casey Catanzaro. She was an American Ninja Warrior, and she is working right now with the hey, Corey, how you doing? I just saw that. Oh, wait, Swag Beats, who's that? Well, hi, Swag Beats, how you doing? I just saw your message. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. The women's division in NXT needs some people, and Casey Catanzaro is right now training in Orlando at the training center. Maybe you'll see her coming up soon. They do need some more women wrestlers to get rocking and rolling in that women's division in NXT. Long story short, tonight, you're going to watch, as I call it. See some good victories. I think I'm going to be pretty spot on. The Clash of Champions. No champions are clashing. Sorry to say. But, hey, what else can I tell you? WWE sometimes changes names and makes them better. Great Balls of Fire, I think, is not going to come back next year because I think everybody was like, what is that? What's Great Balls of Fire? But I think you can change this pay-per-view next year to The Last Stand and get away with it. So tonight, watch The Last Stand, known as Clash of Champions, on SmackDown Live. Tuesday, we're going to get the main results. And if you watch tonight, you're going to know everything going down. Thank you for watching. This is The Buck Stops Here. If you're new, please subscribe. And you can comment. Thank you very much. You can catch me here on Sundays. The Buck Stops Here. You can see me on Twitter at The Buckster or hit me up on Facebook. All my links are attached. Thank you very much and enjoy your Sunday.